Hello and welcome to another transfer roundup here on the League One Lowdown. This week it's myself, Callum Davis, and Sam on duty. Sam, how are we? It's been a roasting hot week, although maybe not in the transfer market.
It is, yeah. So you've been away a couple of times, my friend, haven't you? It's been about a month since we last caught up, so it's good to have you back. We'll get
annoyingly, the tan's disappearing as well,
which
is quite annoying. I had a lovely tan after coming back from
back to the pale, to the pale self.
Yeah, despite the warm weather, it's slowly disappearing. But a few transfers to get stuck into.
Oh, 100%.
And looking forward to getting back into business. So I suppose we can just dive right in and see what's been getting on for AFC Wimbledon. This is the first time I've spoken about them since they've joined the league. It's been that long. But Nathan Bishop on a free from Sunderland, Sam.
Yes, I think it was needed. We've obviously lost Lewis Ward. Owen Goodman was arguably one of their best players last season. He's gone back to Crystal Palace and is likely to go to Huddersfield. It's still somehow not been confirmed, and if it has, I've missed it. They've obviously signed Joe McDonnell as another goalkeeper. He is definitely like the replacement for Lewis Ward as a number 2. And Nathan Bishop comes in as a number 1. He's not been a number 1 for a little while. He's had numerous loan spells at League One clubs. So it's time for him to cement his position and show what he's capable of. And at a good old age of 25, 26 as well, it's a good opportunity and a good football club for him to showcase what he's about there.
Yeah, a former under-20 international for England, obviously comes through the Manchester United Youth Academy. I seem to remember him on a couple of FIFAs a while ago, which is how you know he's a United Academy player. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he deals with that switch down to AFC Wimbledon. We'll see how he gets on. But yeah, like you say, a number 1. And we'll see. Alistair Smith, I should say, for Lincoln City. I know that one's a couple of weeks old now, but as an Imps fan, I suppose, just interesting to see how he's, despite never really looking at League One level for Lincoln City, willingly gone back to AFC Wimbledon. I know he was one of their better players last season, but it will be interesting to see how he copes with that step up, because at Lincoln City, it might have been that we were using him out of position. I seem to remember that a couple of times, but yeah, just there's my 2 cents on that. So AFC Wimbledon, interesting start to their season. For Barnsley, 2 players in, both coming from, I suppose, the Championship in a way. You got Reyes Cleary, undisclosed from West Brom. I hate how all transfers are undisclosed. By the way. Can we get rid of that, please? I liked knowing how much transfer fees were. And Nathaniel Ogbeta on loan from now rival Plymouth, Sam.
Yeah, I think Ogbeta's one. I've not heard anything about Cleary. He's been on loan in the National League for a couple of times once. So I think with Hartlepool, I think he was on loan at Walsall as well. So I don't know too much about him. But Ogbeta's obviously experienced at League One level, especially more so with Bolton when they got to the playoff final. A really good option down the left-hand side. And it's probably the first time I look at Barnsley in terms of they've replaced Nicky Cadden. It's taken a season, but he possesses, to me, the same sort of attributes that Nicky Cadden does, especially in the final third. So I like that signing. It's a loan signing, so it's low risk. I'm surprised Plymouth have let him go, to be honest, but low risk from Barnsley. They've needed 3 or 4 more signings like him this summer. Murphy Cooper, as you've mentioned, was a good start. Ogbeta's another good start, but they need especially some reinforcements in the front line to partner Keylor Dunn, who knows? He may not be a Barnsley player at the end of the transfer window.
We'll see. There's a couple of big moves, actually, that have happened that we'll get on to. So anything feels like it's possible in the League One transfer window. 20 appearances last year for Cleary and 6 goals for Hartlepool and 2 assists. But former under-19s international for England. So you'd imagine some decent potential there, whether it's one for the future for Barnsley. We'll wait and see. On to Blackpool, 2 incomings for them. Judge Honeyman on a free from Millwall, and Franco Ravitsoli, which I'm definitely going to have far too much fun saying over the next few months. Also on a free from Wycombe. Sam, your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I think Blackpool have had probably one of the better transfer windows so far in League One. You've experienced championship quality and experience in George Honeyman. I believe he's also won promotion from this level with Sunderland. Franco Ravitsoli had one of the best save percentages in League One last year at Wycombe, which to me, when they replaced him with Will Norris, I was quite surprised because I actually think Ravitsoli didn't deserve to lose his place. But Blackpool have now picked him up, so that's a really good replacement. Not obviously we've mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, Niall Ennis has come in. He replaces Jordan Rhodes. He was a proven goal scorer for them at the end of the season, and they've obviously experienced two very big units and promotion winners in Ihekwe and Horsfall, alongside the experience of Steve Bruce, who, when we did our manager rankings, was around 7th. He does have that pull because it's Steve Bruce, former Manchester United defender, of course. So, yeah, it's a really good start to the window for Blackpool, and you would be probably looking at them to be a top 6 contender next season.
You'd think so. Honeyman, for me, feels like a very a wise signing, really. I think he's got that kind of creativity, that forward-thinking midfielder, and I think that's kind of what Blackpool were lacking most parts last year. I mean, they drew a lot of games, and maybe you just need that creativity to get that final goal. On to the next team, Bolton. Nothing really speaking for them. Been impressed with some of their signings. Xavier Simmons, for me, feels like quite a good signing. He had quite a few looks in at Hull last season, so I'm aware of his business. And Teddy Sharman-Lowe also feels like quite a decent signing, I think.
Okay.
But not a lot to talk about with Bolton.
No.
Bradford, I find it interesting to see the approach of the promotion teams. We talked about it with Wimbledon. Not many signings from them, but Bradford, Will Swan in this week, undisclosed, from Crawley Town, one of those teams that went down last year. So getting that towards the bottom of the league experience, what it takes in a relegation scrap, I think that's probably quite a clever signing as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Bradford have had another very strong summer. Stephen Humphries' is pace and power at the top end of the pitch to go alongside a sort of the agile sort of forward in Will Swan. They've got Ibu Toure, Josh Nerfield, so they've got two really good attacking wing backs now as well. Joe Wright's a good centre back. Curtis Tilt is experienced. I don't expect him to play. Max Power's a good signing in midfield. So a really good transfer window so far for Bradford. And while I don't think Will Swan is a natural goal scorer, he occupies defenders for somebody like Humphries, who I think is a very, very strong forward at League One level.
His League One record is 7 goals in 38 appearances, but crucially 3 assists, which I think is relatively high for a striker. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, quite a few ins for Bradford. So we'll see how that squad gels together. Next up, Burton Albion, 2 in the last week or so. Jordan Amisa, I think that's how you say it, on a free from Ross County. And the one that I think we're probably going to touch on most is JJ McKinnon, on loan again from Lincoln City. For me, I think it kind of works with both sides, so much as Lincoln thinking that they'll finish ahead of Burton. I don't really see the thinking of why Lincoln have let him go, because I think Lincoln will struggle this year. I think that's going to be my controversial opinion. I'm not backing my team at all this year. But I see why it worked, because he kind of obviously was quite successful there last year. It just feels a bit silly to let them go to what I imagine will be quite a close rival this year.
Yeah, I would agree. It was obviously very, very good as well at Burton, wasn't he, at the second half of the season? So if it was a permanent transfer, in my head, that would make more sense, because you've received a fee, so you can get someone the manager would prefer. But to loan him to a League One rival who we do think will be better than they were last year. Having said that, we've said this for the last 3 years about Burton, and they never have. So yeah, he was a starlet or a star in the second half of the season. So I expect more of the same. And then Jordan Amisa replaces the outgoing Max Crocombe as their new number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's got a 3 more years as JJ McKinnon on his deal at Lincoln City. So that's probably why he's not on a permanent, was because I imagine the transfer fee would be quite high. But yeah, a weird one, and I wish him all the best at Burton. I think he'll do quite well, and hopefully won't come back to bite Lincoln City too hard. Next, Cardiff City, Roko Simic out on loan to Karlsruhe SC. No ins.
No,
Cardiff. I'm not gonna. We'll probably do a podcast on them at some point pre-season. It's not looking great.
You've not been around for a couple of weeks, so what are your thoughts on Brian Barry Murphy going in at Cardiff? It took them long enough to appoint a manager after going after Nathan Jones.
I think it's poor. I think it's very poor. Personally,
Okay.
I don't know. I guess maybe they're hoping it's similar to what Birmingham did, appointing a youth coach from a Premier League side and hoping that works, but I don't think it will. Nothing happening at Doncaster. I'll leave that one for Jamie Johnson to talk about, although I'm quite worried that they're going to jump over Lincoln City and that will keep him talking, won't it, Jamie? Luca Woodhouse in for free from Wycombe for Exeter City, as is Ryan Riddell, but on loan.
He's come from Stockport.
He's come from Stockport. But Dimitri Mitchell on a free to Leyton Orient. Sam, we'll touch on that, I suppose, a little bit later on when we come to Leyton Orient. But Luca Woodhouse and Ryan Riddell.
Yeah, Ryan Riddell was one that when he was in League Two with, he kind of like, to me, he's a bit similar to Ethan Pye in terms of I think they're quite highly rated at Stockport. But he didn't start as many games as he needed to last year. And as we know, Exeter have a very good reputation of developing young talent. Like you look at the amount of players they've got on loan from Brentford over the past 3 or 4 years that have developed and gone to play for the Championship level. So Stockport will be hoping, even if he has a good first half of the season, I don't think Exeter are rivals to Stockport this season. I think they're in 2 completely different parts of the league. So it makes sense. You send him to a sort of a mid-table League One club, develop him for 6 months, make him play football. If he does really well, you can call him back in January and he's part of your team in form and fit. If not, you just leave him out there the whole season. So I think it's smart from both Stockport and a very good signing for Exeter City.
I'm a fan of the Luca Woodhouse deal as well. He's played quite a few games in the National League, getting 2 goals and 3 assists from centre-back is quite impressive. I suppose the thoughts there is that hopefully he gets some games at a team slightly lower down the table than Wycombe, and we'll wait and see. So decent business so far from Exeter. Huddersfield Town, who have they not signed and who have they not sold really at this rate? Not so much happening in the last week or so. I suppose my thoughts on Sean Rowan, fair enough. Disappointing, I suppose, that he didn't get that move to the Championship as a Lincoln City fan, and that we're going to have to come up against him because we know what he's like. We've still not filled that hole yet, but yeah, fair enough. From what I've heard, his wages are tasty, so I do not begrudge him one bit. Out at Leyton Orient is Dan Ajayi on a free to a team that I'm not going to say. And in at the club is Dimitri Mitchell on a free from Exeter. We've just seen that. Sam, if you want to embarrass yourself by saying where Dan Ajayi has gone, then feel free. And then your thoughts on
Coachella, somewhere in Turkey.
When it's Ispor, you know it's Turkey. He's gone to Turkey. He'll come back with some new hair, and Dimitri Mitchell has joined Leyton Orient.
Yeah, so Dan Ajayi has gone to a team that's recently been promoted to the Turkish top tier. I have no problem with him going there. He's not gone to another League One club. At the end of the day, he's going to be playing against teams like Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Besiktas. He's been playing in big stadiums against teams like £50 million players, John Duran, Jose Mourinho, people like that. So I don't begrudge him at all going there. But to replace him, Dimitri Mitchell, experienced at League One level, wand of a left foot, extremely creative, not as pacey as Dan Ajayi, but technically I think he's a better footballer. He may not be like going past defenders with his pace, but he's got a wand of a left foot. And some of if you look at his goal compilations, he looks a really, really good signing. He's a player that I've looked at for a number of years. It's just his injury record's a bit worrying.
Yeah.
But if he was a fully fit player, I believe he would be in the Championship. Let's put it that way, which is probably why he's at League One level. It is expected that Orient sign, I believe, 2 by the end of the week. But they do have one of the worst away kits I've ever seen for this upcoming season. So
you win some, you lose some.
You win some, lose some, yeah. So I expect a couple more ins probably by Friday. So next week's episode, I'm hoping that top box looks a bit fuller.
Well, talking about wanting that top box to be a bit fuller, Lincoln City, it's drier than the Sahara Desert in terms of incomings. Sonny Bradley, the only in, out. Clucas, Smith, Walker, Rowan, O'Connor, Ben and Bradshaw. Ben and Bradshaw, Ben, we knew he was leaving the club. He's obviously joined Hartlepool. And the interesting one for me, Zach Bradshaw, never played a game for the club, has had 2 loan spells, 2 different teams, and has now left on a free. He was contracted to the club, but he's just left on a free, so it's not like his contract's extended, gone or anything. From what I can tell, from what I've been told, the club do have, in terms of like they have options apparently. So performance-based bonuses, so that fee might rise. But Lincoln City need to do their business. It's very worrying. We don't have a left back really at the club right now. Midfield's looking a bit worrying. Defensively, is looking a bit worrying. I know a lot of people saying we needed to trim the squad. We've done that, but we've not replaced it with any real quality. Sonny Bradley, he's all right, and I'm sure he'll be great. But I do worry he's getting on a little bit as well. So why have Lincoln all of a sudden become Luton Town and Derby County's retirement home? I worry about that, but we'll see. We'll see.
And as we are recording this episode, it's currently 5:30 on the 2nd of July. We started this just after 5 o'clock thinking, there won't be any more signings. Huddersfield Town.
They've just announced one.
They've just announced Owen Goodman, who we thought would get done. Owen Goodman is now done. So thank you, Huddersfield Town, for ruining my afternoon by announcing a signing as we're recording. But yeah, Owen Goodman is now confirmed at Huddersfield Town.
New goalkeeper for them. Beautiful stuff. Luton Town, no incomings, but a couple of outgoings. Carlton Morris to Derby, doesn't bother us. Thomas Kaminski to Charlton, doesn't bother us. And Daiki Hashiola has gone to Slavia Prague, undisclosed, all three of them. I suppose they're big losses in terms of they are good footballers, but they would have been expected to leave. I imagine Carlton Morris in League One feels slightly unfair.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there are three players we expected to leave Luton. Their squad, they've still got Adebayo, who I don't know if he'll leave or not because his XG underperformance last year was so terrible that I'd be surprised if a Championship club wanted him. So it'd be interesting to see what else in terms of incomings at Luton. We all expect them to lose 4 or 5 more. They've lost Morris, they've lost Kaminski, and they lost Hashiola. So it'd be interesting to see if they lose 3 or 4 more, get 3 or 4 more in terms of. I'm thinking like League One players in terms of like Huddersfield's recruitment. They are League One ready players. So I know George Saville's been around, Kai Naismith's especially been around, but it's been a long time since both of them played at League One.
I think the worry with Luton is how do you convince someone to join a club like that that's on a downward spiral, that's had back-to-back relegations? The only way to do that is through money. And do Luton have the money with them developing? They're developing that new stadium, right? They've got lots of outgoings at the minute based on the fact that they thought they might be a Premier League side. How do you fund that? It's a very hard sell, isn't it, right now, Luton?
Yeah, at least the Championship side. So, yeah, it'll be interesting what happens with Luton this summer.
Yeah, we'll see. For Mansfield, one signing in Nathan Maamria Welsh, undisclosed from Hibernian. Outgoing Alfie Kilgore to Bristol Rovers on a free. The interesting one for me was obviously Nigel Clough has signed a contract extension. I didn't realise he was out of contract this summer. I feel like no one realised that, which I think is interesting. It would have been very easy for Mansfield town directors and the chairman and whatnot to say, what the heck was that form for the second half of last season, or for the final 2/3 of last season? We need to change direction. But they've stuck by him. So I think that'll be interesting, Sam.
Yeah, and Maamria Welsh has come from Hibernian. He's played 26 times last year in the Scottish Premiership, and he's got 38 appearances for Newport County in League 2. So he's a good age as well. He's got 36 caps for Guyana as well. He's only 23, so adds a lot of experience for a 23-year-old into there.
That's relatively impressive, and probably gives Mansfield Town some. If he is a recognised international, maybe a smart signing to give him a couple of breaks throughout the summer as well. If you know that's going to be one player out after Mansfield, then Northampton Town. They've been very busy, but nothing in the last week. So I suppose we can kind of skip over them. Not a huge amount to talk about. Peterborough. I feel like this is going to be where a lot of conversations happen this summer, this year. As always, Peterborough United, the story. Alex Bass and Brandon Keller in. Alex Bass, I must say, an incredible signing. I think he's an incredible goalkeeper. I've seen some of his highlight reels. Very impressive. But Shamanga out, Poku out. And the big one that happened today as we're recording this, Malik Mothersill undisclosed to Stockport County of all teams. One of your better players going to one of the better teams. What does that say about Peterborough United's stature in the league? They clearly don't have the money to keep their players, and they don't have the pull that they used to due to their poor form last season. I'm worrying for them. I am worrying for them.
Our season preview could be heavily looked at teams like Peterborough, who have been in League One for ages, instead of the 4 new promoted sides, to be honest. Poku, who we did expect to leave, to be honest. I think it was just a matter of fact of where he went. QPR did surprise me.
There was links from phase one, wasn't there, to where it would go.
Malik Mothersill going. Their top scorer, I think, last year. I think he got double figures. But we didn't expect anything like that to happen. Especially to a League One rival in Stockport. For Stockport, it was a massive fee. I believe it was their transfer record that they've spent on him.
Yes, it is their transfer record,
So for Stockport, it's an excellent signing. Obviously, they've already had Eden as well from Peterborough, so they've now got a brand new left-hand side, both from Peterborough. So Peterborough have lost arguably their 4 best players from last year in Kiprianu, Jade Jones, Poku, and Mothersill. They've lost all 4. Bill Kopovic, their goalkeeper's up for transfer because he's in the last year of his contract, and they've replaced him with Alex Bass. I think that's a really good signing for around the fee of £300,000. Excellent signing, had an excellent season at Notts County. Brandon Kaler was on loan at Bradford, I believe it was, last season. Another good signing, but he's another one that still needs to be developed. So I'm looking at Peterborough. They need to try and get out of League One. We all expect Peterborough to be top 6 in League One. They are renowned to be a top 6 League One club. But I'm looking at them at the moment thinking, there's no experience. Bottom 6. Yeah, there's not much fire. I like the signing of Kyrell Lisby, but he again, it's one of them where they buy from non-league and hope that they just hit the ground running. It's a big season for people like Chris Clark, who they got from Altrincham with a big reputation. It's not paid off. But I look at someone like Josh Stokes, who came from the same level at the same time. He obviously was at League One level with Cambridge last year, was excellent. So they'll be expecting for more of the players I think they bought last year, Peterborough. But I've been very disappointed, I think, as an overall with them so far.
Definitely one to keep an eye on. I'm quite interested to see what happens there. Plymouth, I feel like a team that we've not really talked about much. I feel like, well, to be fair, I feel like I've not talked about any of the relegated teams because I've not been here. But just one out for them, Michael Baidu, on loan to, I don't even know where Salal is.
Qatar, I think.
Is it Qatar? I imagine he's on a lovely wage there. So not a huge amount to talk about with Plymouth. Be interesting.
No, I think the only thing I will say about Plymouth, Tom Cleverley obviously came in. Within a week, they sold Hardy, Randall, Grimshaw, and now Baidu, who was heavily linked to go anywhere. Same with Bundu. They're both heavily linked. But he's lost a big core of his team. I like the signing of Jamie Patterson, but he's 34 now, 33, 34. Caleb Watts is an okay League One player, young. Bradley Ibrahim was one of Crawley's standout players last season. I like that. Jack McKenzie's an attacking left wing back. I haven't seen a lot of him, so I can't comment. I think Plymouth need a bit like what Huddersfield have done, just League One ready players, get them in early. But they've got a good manager in Tom Cleverley, so we'll wait and see what happens with Plymouth.
Yeah, be very interesting to see how all of the relegated sides do. Port Vale, one of the promoted sides, a few incomings for them. Cameron Humphreys on a free from Rotherham, Ben Wayne on a free from Plymouth, and Marco Morosi on a free from Cambridge United. So a mix of, all of them League One experience, I believe. Interesting. Cameron Humphreys as well stands out.
Yeah, Cameron Humphreys is a good signing from Rotherham. Played a big role last season in terms of games. Anyway, it was a pretty disappointing season overall for Rotherham. But it's a Darren Moore pull, I think, as well in that regard. I think he's a very, very strong manager. Marco Morosi, decent League One goalkeeper, has been around the blocks. Ben Wayne, never really been a prolific goal scorer. So I think if Port Vale are to be successful this season, it is a lot of teams need it. Obviously, everyone's looking for that prolific number 9. But I do. I look at I like the signing of Jordan Gabriel. I like the signing of Liam Gordon. I like the signing of Rico Richards. If they got even if an experienced number 9, somebody like I look at Lee Gregory last year, who went to Mansfield. Somebody like a Lee Gregory to come in, hit the ground running, knows how to score goals. I think that would be beneficial for.
You just want someone with a little bit of League One nous, don't you?
Yeah.
Who knows where the goal is. in the League
I
One
mean,
level.
it's probably not ideal at the age now he is, but somebody like a Jordan Rhodes who's available.
Yeah, something like that. Even just that experience to tell other people where the net is, I suppose, in a roundabout way. Nothing happening at Reading in terms of ins or outs. Their big one was, of course, Pordy O'Connor, which doesn't hurt at all, and the League One fixtures putting Lincoln against Reading on the first game of the season. Very funny. Also the same for Rotherham, no ins or outs this week, so we can skip straight through them. Just one outgoing at Stevenage, Aaron Presley going to Walsall. Just a note, Saxon early at Plymouth, hopefully coming to Stevenage from Plymouth. Maybe he might actually play a League One game this year, considering he didn't do any for Lincoln last year on loan. We spoke about Malik Mothersill, incredible signing for Stockport County. Just kind of it shows that money's there in League One. Stockport County, a club that you'd imagine spent quite handsomely last year, and now they're spending again, breaking their records. Helped, you'd imagine, by the 2 undisclosed sales of Sam Hughes and Isaac Alofe, I believe that's how you say it, to Charlton. So interesting that money is flowing in and out of Stockport County. Maybe they're looking at the other sides that we expected to spend money, and they're not doing it so far. So they think maybe if we can spend just that extra penny, it kind of guarantees us a shot at the promotion.
Yeah, this is what annoys me about undisclosed fees. We have no idea what they got for Olafi. I suspect it's around £1 million from Charlton. I would suspect, and I reckon it's about the same they've probably paid for Mothersill. So
I imagine a lot of clubs know. Like I imagine people in the know will know.
Yeah.
But the Joe Public, like us, probably, we don't talk to agents as much as all the clubs do. So imagine, the people in the know how much other clubs have in terms of money to spend, but it just annoys us.
Yeah, and if you do know how much it is, let us know in the comments, please. They're two different types of players, aren't they? Olafi and Mothersill. Olafi is he is pace and power, holds off defenders, backs into wins free kicks, and as a real life goal. Mothersill's still kind of that developing sort of forward, will run the channels, but isn't, I'd say, as physically developed in terms of bulkiness. So I think I don't think he is the direct replacement for Olafi. I'd expect someone else to probably come in at Stockport in the forward line. But I do like the signing of Malik Mothersill. I especially like the signing of Alulu when that was announced. So, yeah, I expect probably 4 or 5 more in at Stockport across the
You'd
pitch.
expect so. There's still quite a long way to go in the window. Wigan, not much in terms of outs, but some decent ins in Paul Mullin, although he didn't get much of a look in at Wrexham. So whether he's going to get more of a look in at Wigan, you'd imagine so. Is he ready to play consistently at a League One level? We'll find out. And Wycombe, Mickey Van Sass, which is an incredible name, and will more than likely be the subject to a few titles and jokes from me. And Bradley Fink, which again is probably the dream for a couple of puns. Both in from abroad, Van Sass in from Feyenoord, and Fink in from Basel. So interesting that Wycombe are looking from abroad. Are they trying to be that kind of clever football manager? They've afforded a slightly bigger scouting range than all the other clubs, so they could pick up some people on a cheap. I don't know. We'll see.
We know Wycombe are a very data-driven club now, so I suspect their data said so. I don't think they go and scout the traditional way. I think it is all data, so they've obviously used that. But Wycombe Wanderers signing players from Feyenoord and Basel. I never thought I'd ever say or hear that. And if you go off transfer market, Bradley Fink's market value is around €500,000.
True.
This is going to go one of two ways for Wycombe. Me and you especially were heavily critical of their January recruitment. We said they did too much. This summer, they've done just as much.
Yeah,
I know they've got a new manager, so these may well be Mike Dodd's players now. But that squad is mahoosive still. They've only really they've let go 8. The only real one there that played at the end of the season was Joe Lowe. Adam Reach played a bit, but key, you'd probably say Joe Lowe and the rest squad players. You look at all the ones he's brought in. Tilly will probably be a squad player. Casey will start. That is the replacement for Lowe. Boyd Muntz will play. Quintara I really like. I think that's a really exciting signing in the front line. Taylor Allen scored penalties for days. So there's their new centre half and set piece taker. Van Sassel probably, but so now they've got a 21-year-old goalkeeper from Feyenoord and Will Norris. So that in my head doesn't really make sense. And then you've got Bradley Fink, which then to me would suggest that Richard Kone's off because you've got Kone, Udoa, and Fink.
Where's the space?
Confusing at Wycombe Wanderers once again. But if it pays off, they've got one of the best squads in the league, so there'll be no excuses.
It's like, how do you keep them all happy though? And how do you, dare I say it's not the same as Chelsea because they're not all superstars, but how do you keep them all happy? How do you keep them rotated? League One is a big league, lot of games. I don't know if it's the most amount of games. It might not be, but I think it's the most amount of games out of the 4 divisions. Off the top of my head, so it'd be very interesting to say. But lovely going over all the transfers in the league. Hopefully, as we get a bit closer to the start of the season, we'll start seeing a few more ins and outs. I'm hoping for Lincoln's sake that it's quite a few more ins, but we'll see. Make sure you like and subscribe to the League One Lowdown. It's great to be back, but for now, it's goodbye, and we'll see you soon.